Okay, so I'm going to try to do a quick video about this, and I don't know if it'll be quick or not. But this morning, Adam Eliyahu Berkowitz, who writes for Israel 365, journalist, and I will say he's probably one of the closer journalists to the Temple Institute and to the rabbis and what they have to say. So I would say he's probably authoritative as far as they go. But this morning he put out a video and he was a little irritated, and you can tell in his video that he was irritated, and I'll post it in the description. And he basically went off about, Christians, how they keep sharing that the altar is made and that it's going to be red heifer's going to be sacrificed on Passover. And I've been saying the same thing, that's never going to happen. And those things are untrue. And actually, I haven't said that it's not going to happen on Passover. I actually thought that it could be on Passover. But the way that they were talking at that Red Heifer conference, that they're not ready for it to be on Passover. And in my opinion, they have up until July 23rd, which is 17 Tammuz, which makes sense to me because I would think they want to do, their golden calf, red heifer, before the actual historical date, anniversary of the golden calf. So that makes sense to me. But any time in between that, I'm sure they can do it, and they will do it. It will be this year. But he seemed a little irritated that he was hearing all this misinformation and nonsense from Christians, especially on social media, and how they kept posting about the altar and Passover. And he didn't even mention Good Friday. And people told me that it was going to be Good Friday, which was yesterday. And I said, no way, man. That's a pagan holiday, and that is actually 3 weeks from the start of Passover, and there's no way that those Jews in Israel have waited this long for a red heifer, and they're going to go burn a red heifer on a pagan holiday. We know what their intentions are. Even if they don't, I know what their intentions are because I've been researching this thing since 2015, and I'm kind of blown away by what God has shown me and what I've researched and what I've prayed about, and it all makes sense and it connects. And anyways, he was irritated, and I'm saying this with respect. I respect the guy. I've talked to the guy, and I ask him questions to see what he says based on the stuff that I've read from the Mishnah and everything else that they go by. And I just want to confirm stuff. But when you start seeing, rabbis coming out and saying, and before I start on that, let me say this, that he couldn't figure out where this information came from, as far as saying it was going to be on Passover. And I can tell you for a fact that came from Byron Stinson, the so-called red heifer hunter from Texas, that got them to get those red heifers that they got. So he's actually the one that's come out on numerous YouTube videos, being interviewed. And even I just heard him 2 days ago on a radio show, and he still is claiming Passover or Shabbat. That's what he says. I mean, he doesn't really know. They're not going to throw him in the loop. They just used him to get the red heifers. So it is what it is. Just like they use Malki. They use Malki to slaughter the lamb, and it wasn't even a lamb. They confirmed it was a goat. It was a black and white goat. It wasn't even a lamb. So they confirmed that when Malki's all along saying that it's been a lamb, and it's never been a lamb. It was always a goat, and there was a handful of us saying that in 2019 that it was a goat. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, just go back to my blog and look up Malki, and you'll see what the 70 nation sacrifice was about. Anyways, Byron Stinson is the one who has caused a lot of this issue with the date, as far as the date goes. And after the Red Heifer conference, they said the rabbis were saying that they don't even know about Passover date. Their intentions aren't for Passover. And it makes sense to me that they have to do it before Passover to prepare for the Passover meal and to make everybody clean, according to what their writings say. But he's not being completely honest, and the rabbis aren't being completely honest with everybody. Even he's right about his video. If you watch it, he's right. He's not lying, but they're not still being honest, The Mishnah has always said, Rambam, who they follow, has always said the red heifer has to be minimum 3 years old. It can be up to 4 or 5 years old. This is from their own writings. I posted on my page and I showed you guys the link from the Wayback Machine where they had deleted the red heifer information. I showed you that. It's there. It specifically says, according to Chaim Richmond and Azrael and the others that run the Temple Institute and the Red Heifer, that it has to be 3 years old. Then they came out and said, oh, no, it has to be 2 years and 1 day. Then they came out and said, no, it has to be 2 years and 1 month. Now they're saying it has to be 2 years and 2 months. It's ridiculous. Even the Muslims are saying, oh, it has to be 2 years and 2 months. They're not even going by their own writings. They're not even going by their own teachings and their own tradition. You know what I'm saying? So they can't be fully trusted 100%. It is what it is. So they're saying, and matter of fact, the interview that I just heard with Byron Stinson from a couple days ago, he actually said, oh yeah, they're 3 years old. And I'm like, where'd you get that from? How did that even come about now? Now you're saying they're 3 years old? So then they were born before what you guys suggested? And trust me, I know from these rabbis that went and picked up these red heifers from Texas, I know for a fact that when they were born, I don't know to the day, but I know, he wouldn't tell me, but I know when they were born. Even from the rancher himself, he messaged me and I got an email and he told me when they were born. So I know that they do not turn 3 years old, the oldest red heifer, until September of this year, mid-September. So there's things they're not being honest about still, even though they want to say that they, you may be bearing false witness against God by saying these things. They're not being honest what they're saying. And I don't know if they're doing it just to be dishonest and deceive people, or if they're doing it because they don't want anybody to know. Because look what happens now. The Muslims are all going crazy and everybody's all mad and pissed off because now red heifer's about ready to be burnt on the Mount of Olives. And that's another thing. They come out, in the news, in the media and say, oh, this is the spot. This is the spot that Saki Mamo bought, on the Mount of Olives in 2012 or whatever it was. Dude, it's not the spot. They're just showing you a spot. Spot is Dominus Flavit, where the Lord wept. That's the spot. That's always been the spot. There was guys researching this 20 years ago, and they came to the conclusion, all of them separately, that Dominus Flavit was the spot where the red heifer was sacrificed. And not only that, it's near Golgotha, Calvary, where Jesus was sacrificed. It's near that spot. This is why it makes this whole thing so out of whack and crazy. Because they're about ready to burn the red heifer in the historical spot right near where Jesus was historically crucified. Do you know the early Christians in the first century, they stopped going to the temple. They were going up to the Mount of Olives and praying and singing and worshiping. 10-hour difference, but call them. They'll tell you the truth. They're not going to lie. And I'm telling you, that's the spot. So, it's just a little irritating that everybody's lying about everything. Like, you don't have to inflate anything because it's already inflated and crazy. You know what I mean? We don't have to do any of that. It is already crazy. We have already witnessed craziness, and we're about to witness even more craziness because of the red heifer being burnt. So, I don't know, man. You guys, just pray about it and choose, make your own decision. I was going to say choose for yourself, but don't choose for yourself, because we even can deceive ourselves. I mean, look at everybody. So pray about it, research, study it, and you come to your own conclusion, because I'm not out here trying to get clicks like all these other people. If that was the case, I would have been a millionaire by now, and I'm not. So research, pray about it, and see what God shows you. And yeah, that's it.